well, welcome. This is Pastor Chuck, and I have a very special guest today. We have our senior pastor, Dr. McAlpin, with us, and we're just going to interview him a little bit, get to know him a little bit better. And you want to say hello?
Hello.
All right.
Good to see you guys.
And he's graciously given us a few minutes here. So let's just get started. Let's jump right in. Number one, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Stone Mountain, Georgia, which
Okay.
is a suburb of Atlanta,
Mm-hmm.
and went to Indian Creek Elementary School and Clarkston High School.
All right.
And so grew up in Metro Atlanta,
Mhm.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And were you into sports or?
I played Little League Baseball when I was a kid,
Okay.
and at one point I wanted to be a catcher for the Atlanta Braves.
Well, hey, there you
Joe Torre was my hero.
go. All right.
And then I got into soccer when I was in high school. Played soccer all through high school, college, and pretty much ever since.
Gotcha.
Continued the soccer. Love soccer. Soccer's my sport.
All right, yeah, absolutely. Well, Joe Torre went on to have a nice managerial career.
Yes, he did.
You know,
with the Yankees and the Cardinals.
yeah, absolutely. When I was a kid, the Braves were really good.
Yes.
Now, years later,
Yes.
mind you, I'm
Yes.
younger. But they, that was the John Smoltz, Greg Maddux,
Oh, great era.
Avery, those guys, all those pitchers, that
Yeah.
would just go through there. And so, tell me a little bit of what your childhood was like, other than sports. What was family life like? What was church life? Did your family attend church? What was the?
Yeah, we did. My mom and dad were both Christians, and so we attended a Baptist church. It was not a church where the gospel was really clearly presented, I would say. A lot of you need to be a good person,
Right.
be a church member, but we were a Christian family. We went to church Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and my dad was handicapped. He was in a plane accident when he was 37, and almost killed, but recovered. Was never able to go back to work though, and so he sustained a brain injury,
Okay.
and so I grew up with a handicapped dad, and that that made life a little different for me than other kids. But God was good to us. My mother had tremendous faith and courage, and my dad as well. So that was a model to me of how to handle adversity growing up.
Absolutely. So tell me, what was your conversion story, or what is your testimony? When did you come to know the Lord? Kind of what was life like before that, and then how did God bring about this change in your life?
Yeah, I became a believer in Christ when I was 17, and I was in my senior year of high school, and had quit going to church as a teenager, and then a casual remark by a friend about his church and about he said, "David, you're always criticizing Christians and talking about what phonies and hypocrites they are."
Right.
And he said, "But there are people at my church that love Jesus."
Mm-hmm.
And I had never heard about loving Jesus. I'd heard about being a church member, being a good person, but I remember thinking, love Jesus? How can you love Jesus? And it so intrigued me that I got in my car the next Sunday and drove to his church.
Wow.
And snuck in late. I didn't want anybody to see me.
Back row,
Balcony.
Balcony, even better.
Yeah, and but I began hearing the gospel presented very clearly and plainly, met some of the guys that he was talking about, witnessed them in their Christian lives, and concluded that Christ was really alive and really real in their lives and in the world, and certainly in that church. And so it was October of my senior year in high school. I committed my life to Jesus Christ.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. That's a great story, and the testimony that other Christians can have by the way they live their life.
Yes.
And
these guys weren't perfect, but they were authentic. They were very authentic in their faith.
They cared. They wanted to please the Lord.
Absolutely. They cared about God.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Now let's go on to a little bit later. When did you feel like you were being called to pastoral ministry? So now not only you have this relationship with the Lord, but now He's calling you into a vocational ministry for life. Kind of what was that like?
Yes. When I went to college, I went to Berry College in Rome, Georgia, north of Atlanta, and My sophomore year, we started a Christian ministry on campus called 60 Minutes, an evangelistic ministry where we had speakers or bands that came in on Sunday night. And we went for exactly 60 minutes. We promised everybody, if you'll come, we'll let you out in 60 minutes. And my Christian friends asked me to be the leader of that. And so I was kind of like the MC, and I was the one that decided who spoke and which bands would come. And anyway, so I started doing that. I loved doing it. I started a prayer meeting on campus, and that really grew. I led that, and so I began to want very much God. I wanted God to call me into Christian ministry. But I was afraid it was just me. I was afraid it was just David that wanted to go into Christian ministry. I had been in the drama club in high school, and so I had been in front of people, in front of audiences, and I learned that I enjoyed being in front of people. I enjoyed the attention. And so as a young Christian in college, I was very afraid that it was just David wanting to stand up in front of people and speak and be noticed. And so I really needed God to confirm that in my heart. And in a Sunday morning worship service, God did that. He really confirmed in my heart, David, I am calling you into Christian ministry. And I went forward in that worship service and surrendered to God's call.
Yeah, that's awesome. And years later, here you are, right?
And here I am.
Ministering to all of us. So
Yeah,
we love it. And I think that's so important to understand, to want to parse out, is this a selfish motive?
Yes.
Or is this of God?
That's right.
And then typically he'll bring some people alongside you who will confirm that as well in you and say, hey, I see this in you.
Yeah, and I had people like that were that confirmed that, but for me that wasn't quite enough. I needed God to kind of knock me in the heart,
Absolutely. That's awesome. What do you think? What is your favorite thing about pastoral ministry that you just love to do? Is it preaching? Is it
I would say it's probably the preparation and delivery of sermons. I love pastoring people, leading a church, helping a church to find its direction and to go after goals. I love doing that. When I was a seminary professor, it was one of the things I missed, quite honestly, as a professor. And so being back in church ministry, I love being able to lead a church. So I would say it's a toss-up between leading the church and sermon preparation and delivery.
Absolutely, yeah. That's something I love too, is the spade work that takes place before sermon and developing it and then delivering it. It's a difficult task, but it's also one that you love to do.
That's right.
And
it's a science and it's an art.
Right.
Also.
Yeah, and it's just and it takes a lot out of you. But man, when you don't do it, there's this element of you that just desires to want to do that.
Yes.
I totally understand that. Now you've had a tough few months.
Yes.
Here and in the last year, if you don't know, Dr. McAlpin was diagnosed with cancer, and he's battling that right now, and has some good news in the last month or so, and so that's good. So continuing that fight, and we've been praying for him, and if you're watching this, continue to do so, please. But in these difficult times of your life, oftentimes God shows us himself in a new way. And really stresses things upon us. What has God been showing you through this that maybe has been very clear in this time?
Yeah. I think more than anything, God has been making the point to me, Chuck, that I don't need to know why God does things to trust Him and to walk by faith. And so what I need to do every day is get up in the morning, have a time with God, let God speak to me out of His Word, and make sure my heart is resurrendered to God every day. And then I just walk by simple faith and simply trust Him and just obey Him, do what He wants me to do, and leave up to Him all the issues of, God, why is this happening in my life?
Right.
Because, Job in the Old Testament, he had a lot of bad stuff happen to him,
Yeah.
and a lot worse stuff happened to him than's happened to me.
Mhm.
And he wanted to know why. And God's answer to him was basically, you don't need to know why, Job, to be able to follow me and love me and trust me.
Right.
And so that's kind of the lesson that God's shown me more than anything else.
Yeah, that struck me in seminary when we were studying the book of Job,
Yes,
and just that, Job never got an answer.
right.
And we actually, as the readers of Job, actually have more insight than it seems Job did.
That's right. Yes, we do. Right.
And but that day by day surrender, follow, and so what a good word that is, and we continue to pray for you,
Thank you.
And hopefully
Appreciate it.
continue to pray for your healing,
Yes.
first and foremost, and also peace during this time.
Yeah.
So now let's transition to a little bit more lightheartedness.
Okay.
What's something that you love that folks may not know that you love?
Wow. Something I love that folks may not know that I
Or
love.
maybe unexpected that you just love a particular thing. Could be
Yeah,
a sports
yeah.
team, could be a
Yeah.
favorite dish.
This may not qualify because I do talk about it some, but I do love watching the St. Louis Cardinals play baseball.
Mm.
And so I subscribe to MLB.com, pay an exorbitant amount of money to be able to watch any MLB baseball games,
Right.
except the Royals, which are on locally.
Yeah.
And I enjoy watching the Royals. But I lived for 15 years in St. Louis, and I grew up, Chuck, in Atlanta watching the St. Louis Cardinals in the 60s
Okay.
beat the snot out of the Braves week after week after week after week, and watching Lou Brock and those guys
Man.
stealing bases. And
They're the big guys on the block.
Oh,
Yeah.
they were incredible. So I've always admired the Cardinals, and when I moved to St. Louis in 1993, I fell in love with the Cardinals, and so I guess I would say that is still my team, the team of my heart. My heart team
Right.
is still the Cardinals, and I love watching them play baseball.
Absolutely. And that's a great answer. And, I have a few things like that as well. Like I'm a big Jayhawk fan, so I subscribe to Jayhawk Slant. My wife doesn't understand why.
Right.
I don't know, man, I can't get enough of reading insider info on the teams,
Yeah.
and but we understand what's going
Right,
on.
understood.
Yeah. Now, last question. You love a little bit of guitar music, right?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
So what are let's say your top 3 artists that you love to just listen to?
Okay. Well, I love the Allman Brothers Band.
Okay.
I love the Allman Brothers. It's a southern blues rock,
Mm-hmm.
and I enjoy Eric Clapton.
Oh yeah.
He's
Slow hand.
great guitarist, and I enjoy B.B. King blues. And he, what's the name of his guitar?
Lucille.
Lucille, that's right.
Yeah.
And King passed away recently, I believe.
Yeah.
And so those are 3 that I really enjoy.
Absolutely. And I can get on board with all of those.
Yeah, man, I know you can. That's right.
Well, thanks for joining us, and just a special thank you to you, Dr. McAlpin, for taking
welcome.
some time out of your day to spend with us. We hope you found this fruitful. If you have any questions, any comments, any concerns, or if you want to know more about Jesus Christ, most importantly, please reach out to us in either the comments or you can send us a direct message. Thank you, and God bless.